Give us the intro, Blake. Let's do an intro to the show.
Welcome to Agree to Disagree. Yeah, we should get on the same page before we do these introductions. Well, hello, greetings, and welcome to February 23rd, and we got a big show. Blake Wally along with Brian Engelman on Agree to Disagree.
All right. We are back. Thanks for joining us here on the TNAM network because the news always matters. This is the new American media because the old American media has failed us. Blake, the eccentric Wally, checking into us somewhere east of California. That's how Mike introduces you, right?
That is true. So, but I'm in Tennessee technically, if we want to. But yeah, I'm definitely east of California. As I escaped from LA in 2020.
You are Snake.
2021.
What is it? Snake Plissken? Pilskin? How do you pronounce
yes.
it? Pilskin?
The great movie Escape from LA, Escape from New York, John Carpenter, good stuff. Nice. Kurt Russell, iconic.
Kurt Russell. What was Kurt Russell best in? What would you say his best movie performances are? I got one off the top of my head.
Boy, there are so many, and I'll probably forget them. I don't have them all on the top of my head because there's probably, at least a half a dozen that could probably stand out, and probably many more. I mean, Escape from LA, a little cheesy, but it's still one of my favorites. Probably The Thing, of course, early 80s. And I just
Escape from LA is cheesy. Like, it's definitely cheesy, but like how you and I both lived in LA and both had to escape it, it hits home. It's autobiographical a little bit to a certain degree.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of worked out in that way.
We escaped. I always liked Kurt Russell in Tombstone, one of the best movies ever made. Oh, I love that movie. He was so good in that movie. I've never been a big Kurt Russell fan per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was a really good one.
Not Overboard. You didn't see Overboard when you were a kid?
I don't know if I remember that one. What else is he in? But that'll be our question of the day. For no apparent reason, in that chat window, tell us your favorite Kurt Russell movie. By the way, so it wasn't on our list, but now you're in Tennessee. Wasn't there like a big fire in Tennessee? Seems like every day there's a couple of train derailments, a couple of explosions, a couple chemical fires, and a couple of UFOs through the skies. Like each day, it sure seems like we're under attack by the same people who got attacked by the Nord Stream pipeline being exploded, and they don't like being under attack, so they're attacking us back. And, it seems like it'd be a great way to, I don't know, utilize the 2 million people you let flood across the southern border. You have a bunch of sleeper cells getting ready to just attack us and destroy us from the inside out like a cancer. So there was something with uranium in your neck of the woods. Was that close to you?
Yeah, it's actually reasonably close. It was it's like northwest of Knoxville on the east side of Tennessee. I don't know if it's the military or so. They had uranium there. Apparently, none of the real. It could have been very catastrophic if it had gotten out of hand. Apparently, they got it under control before it led to any potential damage. So, kind of a close call there. And, reasonably close to me and enough. So, I would have had to evacuate. I'm kind of here. I'm kind of loosely in Tennessee. I'm not officially permanently moved in. So, I guess I can always run, but I kind of like it here for the most part. So we'll stay. But if there's a major uranium nuclear meltdown, I will certainly be out of here within a few weeks, I'm sure. And hello, Space Ace. Also,
Do
got
we
to
know
say,
Space Ace?
yeah.
Is Space Ace somebody who's been in your shows regularly? I don't recognize the name.
Yes, Space Haze, definitely part of the Friday night show, the
Cool.
Frolics, Fun Times, whatever we want to call it.
I
Yes,
joined your Friday night show the other Friday, and I got to
that's
listen to
right.
about 30 minutes of soccer talk. It was awesome. I love soccer talk. It's probably my favorite subject on earth. Minor
I
league
did.
soccer, professional soccer. I don't know what's the difference at
Well,
this
Mike
point.
Bear is likes soccer. He's a big Manchester City or United. I can't remember one of the
I
Manchester
can't keep.
squads. I'm not a big soccer fan. To play fun, I'm not really watching it. I understand it that much, and I'll have to watch that TV show everybody raves about on HBO. What is it?
Oh yeah, someone told me Ted Lasso. It's the
Yeah.
best show on TV.
Then
Ted
maybe I'll have a
Lasso.
new understanding of how soccer works, but for the most part, it's not a spectator sport for me. But
Same here.
a lot
I
of people,
agree.
we have an international audience, so it's always good. Somebody's interested.
All right. Well, let's jump into the subjects. I know we sent an open invitation. There is a journalist whose work we've been following by the name of Nick Sortor, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that right, or maybe not, but loosely attempting to get him on the program from East Palestine. It's like the Berenstein Bears thing with the Mandela effect, right? Palestine.
Yeah,
A little bit of that going
that's your
on.
neck of the woods. That's your home state. That's not too
Yeah.
far from you, huh? Cleveland. It's like southeast of Cleveland.
Cleveland is the city where we come from, so run.
Did you ever spend much time in East Palestine on your way to Pittsburgh, which you love?
I don't think I've ever been to Pittsburgh, honestly.
Really?
Not a single time. It's
It's not
over
even
like
that
it's
far
far
from you.
east. It's on
Like
the
2
far
hours,
east
right?
border
Yeah.
of Ohio, really right up against Pittsburgh, essentially, right up against the western Pennsylvania border. I used to go over, and I had family over outside of Indiana, Pennsylvania, but that was kind of the extent of it. But anyway, we have that journalist. He's on the ground there. He's asking President Trump questions, asking Pete Buttigieg questions.
Yeah.
That guy, we'll get to him in a second. But anyway, if that person is able to join us, they'll show up over on the side. We'll see if we can bring them in. I know we had our first guest last week. Ford Fisher of News to Share came in to tell us a little bit about the 44,000 hours of unreleased footage with the January 6th situation. And there's footage leaking out day by day now. And it's going to be brutal. I have hopes for this footage. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, check that out. Is there a way for me to leave a chat? Yeah, let me try this. Here, I'm going to try something.
Yeah, you can just go to the chat and type in the bottom, right?
Yeah, I want to share my account because we just put out. Can I share this? Let me see. Embed. Yeah, I can embed, right? Here, let me copy this. Sorry, we're doing this. We're making the
studio as we go. And by the way, Stephanie couldn't make it today. She's out and about. She's not going to be able to get here on Showtime, obviously. She may join us midstream if she gets back, so we'll see. Otherwise, perhaps we'll have her on next week. Little show notes.
Yes, I just see. I put that in there. I don't know. It said to embed it. Does that work if you click it? Because we started a Rumble channel.
Put it on your website or something like that. So if you say, hey, go to the New American Media, I got the thing embedded, you can click it. That's definitely not it. Whatever that is. You can probably delete that, right?
Well, doggone it. See, I'm trying to share our account so you can follow us. This should be easy to click a button and then just share. But it's of course not. I don't understand Rumble, man. Do you use Rumble? Do you like?
Well, you're not right. Well, we're not going to be able to stream on Rumble until we have a certain amount of subscribers. So
not that. I just mean using the channel. Like I don't even understand the platform.
The chat will not come into Restream. So anything from like Facebook, YouTube, D Live, Twitch. I don't think we're on those channels, but they'll all come together in the Restream studio, but not Rumble's not yet. So you'd have to use Rumble on the side in order to see any chatters or to interact there. So
do you use Rumble though? Do you use it as a site? Because like as a site, it's just clunky. I don't know how to search for stuff. It's weird. I don't like it, but like we got to get away from YouTube, so we started one.
Right. Yeah, it's good to start. It's not as advanced as YouTube, but they've got a lot more content that YouTube will refuse to publish. So it's becoming
Space Ace saying he's been following Blake for a while. So I guess he knows your patterns. He knows when you go to the grocery store and get gasoline. He's been following you. So just check in your rear view. You might find him. He says he's been following Blake for a while. Lots of different names. David Lopan, Mr. Anderson, John Nada, Space Ace. Always enjoy Blake's take on things. I'll be tuning in here as much as I can. Hey, that's pretty cool stuff. Thank you, Space Ace, for following Blake so closely. Tell us what he's wearing next time, and if he has any dandruff on his shoulder. I don't know. You'll be that close. What kind of cologne he's wearing? Like, give us the full.
I think David's he's in David Lopan, Mr. Anderson, John of many names is Canadian. So
God, I'm so sorry what's happened to your country. How do we fix Canada? What the hell, man? We need strong neighbors to our north, and you got this Trudeau puppet, man. He's ruining that entire country, that formerly great country. How do we seize control of like normal leadership in this hemisphere?
We got to seize control of our own country first, and then we can rescue the rest. But work in progress. It may not happen. It might be a lost cause.
We're going to go down with the ship. We're going to go down swinging if we can. A little show note. Probably best discussed in pre-production or post-production, but we're doing this as we go. You're part of the show. One of the suggestions Stephanie had was on our little our transitions, these video clips, to maybe make them a little bit longer, maybe make them a couple of seconds longer, because some of them are so quick, like 3 to 4 seconds, and it's like by the time it pops on screen, it's gone. But I'm going to click one of these transitions, and we're going to jump into the topics. All right. Let's start with are we in a simulation? You had this on the topics. I know it's something we keep going back to, but let's start there and wonder if, like, Canada, what's going on in Canada? Is this just a simulation? What's going on with Biden overseas while America's burning and being poisoned? Yeah, just money laundering in Ukraine. Is this a simulation? There you have it. Are we living in a simulation? Blake, do you agree that we're living in a simulation, or do you disagree? And this question goes out to Space Ace and anybody else listening as well. Leave your message in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. What say you, Blake?
This is a very complicated question. Hard to give a yes, no for something like that. Depending on how they phrased simulation. I think we're living in an artificial reality. Now, Stephanie she sent us a link yesterday, a video clip of this Eric Weinstein, physicist. He's a frequent guest.
Weinstein, Berenstain, East Palestine, Palestine.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly.
It's a thread.
But he was making some kind of a reference to that we could all be, like where they study, say, an octopus or, different dolphins or, stuff, animals that have a certain level of intelligence, or rats in a cage or what have you. But are we perhaps under some kind of an observation? Now, I don't really like the technocrats version of, we're living in a simulation just because, someday far off into the future, people will have the capability of making a simulation. So therefore, it's true. Like, come on now. I don't think it's be very difficult to make something as complex as a human and our consciousness and just put it into a computer program like the Matrix. I'm not quite on board with that. But yeah, in a way, it feels like we certainly are. I think we're probably being studied like we're zoo animals. I think if there are intelligent life around the universe, they're probably watching us like a reality show. Like, what are these people going to do? Are they going to evolve to the next level, or are they doomed to fail and they're going to, nuke themselves. I think that's part of all the Eric Weinstein thing too, was like, can we use like a certain technology to go visit into the stars and travel the universe, or would we blow ourselves up because we're not responsible enough to handle the tech? So I don't think we're living in like a computer simulation, but it's an artificial reality because the people that rule this planet have created certain rules that we live by. And it doesn't have to be like this. So we're just kind of reacting to how things do. I agree or disagree. Are we in a simulation?
I love the concept. I absolutely love the concept of being in a simulation. Um, but I typed there in the comments, it kind of reminds me a little bit more of a video game. End of the day, what's the difference? You got Koopa Troopers running around, you got Bowser, you got, all sorts of weird, wacky little gremlin things, and we're reacting to the environment. There's a creator, a god, a omnipotent, omniscient being that programmed the universe, created the universe, spoke it into existence. I am, you're the video game creator, the creator. It's and then the zoo theory that you mentioned, that's really big in Ancient Aliens. And I'm using this chat, so I'm jotting things down while you're typing, so I don't interrupt you. But then I have like a record, so I can remind myself to go back.
Right.
It's kind of neat that way.
Yep.
But yeah, I love the Ancient Aliens theory that we're in a zoo and we're being observed, we're being watched, we're being studied, and it's a big component to the movie that I'm working on. Where we are watched as entertainment, a little Truman Show. It's a tale as old as time. This story has been discussed 1,000 different ways, kind of overlapping in mainly the same way. It's just like, are we ants in an ant farm? Is this an alien ant farm, like that band that covered Smooth Criminal? No. It's hard to make sense about what's going on in the news right now, because none of it really seems to pass a basic test of common sense, decency. The obvious stuff isn't obvious, apparently, to the people calling the shots. And it's just, and we'll discuss that coming up. We're going to get into our hard news in a minute, because, another Clinton side situation ruled a suicide instead of what it obviously was. And it's just, you just look at this stuff, you're like, none of this is real. None of this is, like, you can lie to me you can pee on my leg until your bladder's empty. It doesn't make it rain. It doesn't make it precipitation. Space Ace is saying he doesn't think it's a simulation, but he recently got into the idea that we're living in a post-apocalyptic reality. I'm going to pretend world. So a post-apocalyptic, are you saying we've already destroyed everything and this is like the remnants of our consciousness, trying to like yelp about it a little bit? Like we're trying to yap. We're that little dog trying to make some noise before we get hit by the car, but we know we're eventually going to get hit by the car. So if we're in a post-apocalyptic reality, that's after apocalypse. Apocalypse just meaning the revelation, the revealing. It doesn't necessarily mean cataclysm. It just means what was hidden, what was obscured, what was occulted has now been lifted, and it's been revealed in an apocalypse, a revelation, in an I'm going to pretend world. I mean, yeah, we got, like you said, the weather's changed. It's been really nice the past couple of days, but it's like, what are you and I doing? We're putting on headphones, sitting in our chair, and we're talking in our virtual world. That's what we do. It's our favorite thing, and then we connect with people that may or may not exist. These could just be chatbots. This could just be artificial programmed AI. Maybe these people aren't even people, Space Ace, right? And he's saying it's hard to explain. Hard to explain in a YouTube. No, it's hard to explain in general. I totally get that. But no, I like the concept that the people we interact with, they're just all NPCs. Maybe you're an NPC, but maybe I'm an NPC. Yeah. That's
this is all programmed. It's just an algorithmic program, and I'm just spewing whatever the computer wants.
Okay. Space Ace saying basically whatever was supposed to happen has happened. Jesus has come back and the world has ended, and they just keep it propped up like this and they keep us as slaves. I mean, you know?
I can't rule it out. I don't necessarily believe that, but I can't prove it wrong. So we can present all kinds of theories. Yeah.
And so the question is, what are we supposed to be doing while we are here? What is the point of this existence? I don't know, Blake. I mean, you and I, we like ruffling feathers and calling out liars.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to believe that we were, we could make a difference. We had this future that is indefinite, you know, but it was being ruled by the wrong people. And if we could somehow reach the masses, get a mass awakening, that we could go to the next level, if you want, and human enlightenment, or perhaps the Star Trek type of world where we start exploring the galaxy. But we're a long way away from that. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm starting to think that our society might be doomed, and that we go through a cycle every 12,000 years or so where there is a cataclysm, like the solar system sort of resets, that there have been civilizations here before. Humanity hasn't really been here on the earth that long, but really go back a few thousand years, there really isn't a lot going on past 3,000-4,000 years, a lot of recorded history. There's some interesting civilizations. But if you go way back into perhaps the times where there was an Atlantis, or maybe there were giants, or there was some other advanced civilization, and I would encourage people to go look at Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix. The Graham Hancock, great journalist, showing structures all over the world, highly advanced, even more so advanced than we are now, things that we would have difficulty constructing now, that existed, and we don't have a lot of information on those. And archaeologists continue to just kind of dismiss all of this stuff as, like, you know, random or not important, and all of our ancestors were all just simple hunter-gatherers, when I think we can look at the pyramids or any of these other structures and go, no, there was some advanced cultures here, whether they're aliens and they left, or old civilizations that were wiped out. Every civilization's got a story about a flood. You know, I never really necessarily believed in the biblical flood, but if you have all these civilizations talking about the same thing, then you kind of have to think, well, there probably was a flood, but it was, you know, thousands of years ago, and people have forgotten about it or dismissed it. And it's so long, we don't appreciate it because we don't live long enough to see all of these things. So who knows?
So how did this topic make it into the top stories today? What was it that got you thinking this morning about this topic again, in particular?
I think it was because Stephanie shared that link yesterday from the Joe Rogan Experience with Eric Weinstein, and then I was kind of thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe we could talk about that. Is this all just a simulation? But we have the same, you know, issues with what's going on in the reality. It's like, is this real? You just see too many of these things, or you see coincidences, and you're just like, what is the purpose? Or is this all just fake? It's all for show, or is it all some kind of a test? I don't know. We're still, that's the age-old problem of trying to figure out why we are here. What's the purpose? What happens? Are we on a prison planet? Are we just being? Yeah. There's so many different angles and theories out there of what this is all about, and so many cultures have so many different answers, and then just trying to find what makes the most sense, learning as much as you can, or whether you want to just stay under a certain umbrella of what people want to believe. Some people are very rigid in that, like, you've got to believe the King James Bible and take it to a T, and don't question anything outside of that, or you're inviting demons and you're entertaining, you know, but maybe they're right. Like I said, you can't really dismiss everything unless you can really, you know, prove something wrong, which we can't. So we don't know what happens when we die. We don't know what else is out there, and how things work. We're very infancy of our evolution here, trying to figure things out. Meanwhile, we're just trying to survive day to day with all other craziness going on.
We have the comment here, Vishnave Maharaja saying it's all Maya. Krishna is running the whole construct, all explained in the Vedas, Srimad Bhagavatam. In that the law of one makes the most sense.
Oh, I think I've got that book. I haven't read it all. Oh, goodness.
It is real in a way, but an illusion. What book do you have?
Brian. Not looking.
What is it? Wait, show me again. What is that? The raw material?
No, look at the top. The Law of One, the raw material.
Ah. Oh, okay. The Law of One.
David Wilcock talks about this book all the time. I don't know if you know that, but there is a lot of interesting info in this book. I have not finished it. I accumulate a lot of books, and I don't always read them. I also have ambition to do it. Got to discipline myself to tear through that, because that is a frequently referenced novel. So we shall see. It's like from an advanced alien civilization spreading wisdom to the humans. I'm probably not explaining that entirely correctly, but something like that.
Yeah, the ancient aliens theory makes so much sense. It just connects so many dots. It just when so little of what's going on passes the sniff test. It's so absurd. Yeah. That just kind of it gives you a different perspective. But yeah, anyway, just a little food for thought here while we wind the show up. Type your comments what you think the purpose of life is there. That'll be our second question of the day. What's the purpose of life? Our first question of the day being, of course, what's your favorite Kurt Russell movie? What's on the Mount Rushmore of favorite Kurt Russell movies? We'll ask you it that way. Feel free to leave those comments in here. But yeah, okay. Well, yeah, as we go through this, trying to figure out what's what and what's real. Let's continue. Let's jump through to some more of these stories, Blake, and discuss the absurdity of this simulation / future past thing that we're living in. This one, agree or disagree that all of us are qualified to do our own research? Would you agree or disagree, Blake? Do you think that most of us are just simpletons and misguided, easily fooled creatures where we really need to just trust? You will respect my authority. You will trust the source. Or are we qualified to do our own research? Where did you get this idea to discuss this topic today?
Oh, one of the internet's favorite people to beat up on. I think he deleted his Twitter account. Was it Sam? What's his last name? So I don't mispronounce it. I don't have a different window that's in. Oh, it's from Sam Harris, big supposed intellectual.
Supposed, yeah. He makes a lot of sense until he doesn't.
Right. So he posted something somewhere, because I don't think he's on Twitter anymore, was saying what during the pandemic we witnessed the birth of a new religion of contrarianism and conspiracy thinking, the first sacrament of which is to do your own research. The problem is that very few people are qualified to do this research, and the result is a society driven by strongly held, unfounded opinions on everything from vaccine safety to the war in Ukraine. So according to Sam, unless you're like, it seems like he's implying that unless you're as smart as he is, or believe what he thinks, that might be okay. But if there's other people, it's completely ridiculous. I mean, whether it's philosophy or science, like you're always supposed to have conversation and talk about the ideas and see how they hold up, or whether it's in politics, whether it's the culture war, you have different opinions on things and let people decide what they believe to be true. You don't have things dictated to you by somebody who acts like they're an expert, and they might have a PhD, they might be well educated, they might be very smart, but that doesn't make them right. And I don't know why they're threatened by other people's opinions unless they want to believe things so badly and aren't willing to change their opinion or admit they're wrong. And when you're kind of, the walls are closing in on you, and then you just shut down your Twitter account and go run and hide. So I don't know. Maybe that's from Mastodon or wherever the liberals decided there's a little safe space sanctuary away from other voices on Twitter that are going to destroy your ideas and opinions. So I don't know. It's not really my mentality. I don't worry so much about whether I'm right or not. I want to be right, and if one of the things I believe is true is proven wrong, I don't just sit there and try. Oh, wait a second, no, it's got to be right because I believe it is. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just drop that opinion, like and move on. I want to embrace new ideas, but
Yeah, I
a lot
what
of
do
people
I
don't.
care? I guess people the only so under what circumstances would people be incapable and unwilling to accept new information? Cognitive dissonance. Uh, I give you a textbook definition, but I guess like when you hold certain deep-seated beliefs, maybe religiously, that's a good place to start. You have a particular dogma you were raised with, people around you that have always said, and you just that's your reality, but you've never taken the time to dissect it and consider that maybe that's not accurate. Yeah, when confronted with new information, that's jarring to somebody that doesn't know there's a world outside of their own particular indoctrination. Um, I guess the other place that you would have people really resoundingly fighting back, raging against fiction, raging against fact, I suppose, raging in favor of fiction. That doesn't roll off the tongue as easily, raging in favor of fiction. But when there's a financial motivation, when there's a financial incentive, um, if I would lose a few $1,000, if my let's just say something Adam Kinsinger or Adam Schiff, anybody named Adam, Adam West, no, or like Nancy Pelosi, like these are three of our most famous liars, along with Biden, just some of our most famous liars today, like very obviously peddling complete falsehoods, uh, phony baloney narratives, tripe trash. Um, they might rage against fact because it'll cost them money. There's a very one of the worst elements of society. In society, if I look, I get outside, I move around the neighborhood and whatnot. I go for walks, and I noticed a couple of things that needed attention. So I called the city and I said, "Hey, I need to talk to street services. There's a lamppost that's down. There's another lamppost that got hit and it's dinged up. We got some graffiti on a stop sign. Somebody stuck a uterus sticker on one of the street signs over here. Can you send street services out?" It's like, I just noticed something in the world that needed some attention. And my instinct was to say, "Hey, can we clean this up? Can we fix this? Can we repair this? Can we make this better?" That instinct working in a community, that's something that helps people. But when I guess your main motivation is just to try to line your pockets, or it's like you've lied so many times, you've completely painted yourself into a corner. You've completely lost track of reality. You don't even know what's right or wrong because you've started believing your own lies because you've said it enough. It's to me when I hear someone say the words, there's certain words and phrases that I hear now, where it's like instantly my spidey senses go off, and I go, "Oh, okay, someone's selling me a line of bullshit." So it's like when I hear insurrection. Okay, right there, I know you're peddling. I got it. You're one of them. You're locked in that. Okay. What are some other phrases? I had a few keyed up. Are there any phrases you hear and you instantly think like this person's whatever comes next is about to be some garbage? Um, Insurrection is one. Generically, when I hear diversity or equity or inclusion, I go, "Oh God, you're part of this woke mob." Okay, I get whatever you say next. I know it's coming from a point of trying to dominate force through embarrassment and shame, and it's trying to take money from people. Okay, I got it. Any others that come to mind for you?
Man, there should be. I know if I was probably on Twitter, I could probably find a couple. where you just know that
And I
you're
had
not
a
dealing with
few
somebody
more.
who's a good faith participant. It's like,
Right.
okay, well, you're shutting down the conversation because you just want to hear what you want to believe, and you're not interested in a different opinion from yours. You're
And you
not really,
regurgitate the same talking points,
yeah,
the same lies. When I hear insurrection and this, I go, okay, all
yeah.
right, I know where this is going. You don't even need to say your sentence. I know the next thing. Schiff and Kinzinger and Pelosi. Oh my God! As soon as they start, you know where it's going. But like once again, they've lied so much. They're trying to hide their lies, and you're just trapped in a web of lies. You're painted into the corner. You have nowhere else to go. You can't take a single step without crossing up on one of your other lies. Like, good luck with that. That is going to run out. That will always run out because it's a foundation built on sand. You need some sort of steady foundation to build a house on, and they don't have it. But like, I don't care. So I know why some people with like religious dogma, monetary gain, or they've been so interspersed with the lies, they can't untangle the lies. It's just one big ball of yarn, and every string is attached. It's just a knotted mess. I get those three reasons why people don't want to understand reality or truth. But once again, for me, it's just who, what, where, when, why. Why would I continue believing something that's proven to be inaccurate, to be a falsehood? I don't get it. And
Well,
maybe you say people that are trapped in a lousy financial position, they just keep regurgitating what their leaders keep telling them because they think they're going to get some free money if they do it. I mean, is that enough to suspend disbelief? I guess that once again goes back to monetary compensation. They think that they got to play for Team Democrat, or else they're not going to get free money anymore, or something. So I don't know. I don't know who would be against people doing their own research. We've been lied to so many times. Remember when they said that masks worked?
well, I get it. Yeah, no. Yeah, we said that from the very beginning. I'm not a medical professional, but I questioned it from the very beginning. Like, this is ridiculous. But I was like doing it as a social courtesy, or I've got to go get groceries, and all the space cadets over in LA, they're all wearing their masks. I can't go in there. I don't want to sit and start a war over it. Fine, I'll shut up. I'll wear my stupid mask, buy my groceries, get out of there, rip the mask off, and I'm done. But it was like dog training. It was like trying to see how far they could push us. It made no sense. Fauci even admitted right away it's not really accurate. And then years later, now finally they're kind of reluctantly admitting it. Well, I guess masks don't work. Like, okay, yeah. Well, the conspiracy theorists without any medical degrees we're telling everybody that for 2 years. But even some of the doctors that were saying that this doesn't make any sense, they were ridiculed or removed off of YouTube or taken off of Twitter for daring to go against the narrative, which is that you have to, line up, stand 6 feet apart, wear a mask, and sign up for the vaccine as soon as it's available.
What a world, man! Yeah, the Sam Harris is an interesting one. He makes a lot of sense until he doesn't. There was a certain religious leader that I think of often, and I used to always say, it's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense until it doesn't. 9 out of 10 things are pretty spot on, but then you get that 10th thing and you go, woo, what? I'm sorry, that was out of left field a little bit. I think that's a bridge too far. I don't know about that. I don't know. Sam Harris,
Yeah.
Interesting character. I wonder if he's on bankroll somewhere. I wonder. I'm starting to wonder, because it's like once you come out with a couple of absurd things in a row, maybe not in a row, but like in the past 6 months, you just wonder, is there a blackmail component? Is someone pressuring you, coercing you we want you to take these stances for whatever reason? And look, we'll keep the money flowing into your foundation, which keeps your podcast up and going, because we know not enough people are watching. I don't know. I don't even watch Sam Harris. I'm not saying he's not viewed, but like the people pulling the strings, like the Project Veritas people, they seized control of the corporation and then they kicked him out of his own company. It's like, was he told to leave Pfizer alone, and he went on his own way, and then it said, all right, well, we're gonna kick you out of your thing.
Yeah, I mean that's possibility. Yeah, it was definitely with the media people. They're paid to have a certain narrative, or people like scientists that are pushing global warming. They're getting big money from the World Economic Forum or some of these liberal think tanks, and they want to go with the narrative that it's man-made global warming, and that they have to come up with scientific models that go with that. Otherwise, they'll be out of a job. And the same with the liberals or the conservatives, liberal media. If you're going to be in there, you can't really question some of the things, or you'll be out. They'll replace you very easily. But I'm also seeing the same thing with some of the conservatives, especially with this conflict in Ukraine and Russia. It's like, well, I can kind of like Mark Levin or Glenn Beck to some extent.
Mark Levin. That was how you always say
Mark
it.
Levin.
Mark Levin.
Yeah, against the radical left, but then all of a sudden they're pro Ukraine, and it's like, well, what? And so they're getting called out on that. So they will go with a certain area. I see these, the continual warmongers that are still going to be going against Putin in favor of giving all their money to Ukraine. So they're joined at the hip there, but that's just kind of the way. It's refreshing to see somebody like Tucker Carlson, who's actually kind of doing his own thing and being a little more independent than some of the more conservative voices that are usually on Fox. So he's put himself out there where a lot of those guys won't even touch that stuff. So I got to give a kudos to that. But for most people, the journalists, you kind of pick a side and you stick with the talking points from your party and your network and your sponsors, and you don't want to make too many waves. You don't want to get sued, and they play it very, very safe. So it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of money in that. So blackmail may be a part of it too. But with somebody like Sam Harris, where he's invested, he's written books, and maybe he's getting money from the liberal outlets in some ways. Yeah, he can't, say, hey, the conspiracy theorists are making a point, or entertain those opinions. He's got to be hard line. It's his way. And if you're not on his side, then you must be a crazy conspiracy theorist, or you're not qualified to do your own research. So it's only certain select people that are, I guess, are intellectual enough and independent enough to tell you what's real. But we found out that most of these fact checkers and such are actually just paid by these liberal organizations to, support their ideas. And it's anything but independent.
Yeah. It's all left wing. It's been an attack on anything right, anything center right, anything libertarian, anything that's not full Kool-Aid party leftist. It's been under attack. And it's like, you don't get a monopoly on attacking opinions that you think suck, because your opinions are the worst. You don't get the opportunity to just bully, to manhandle the rest of society, especially because your ideas are awful. If your ideas were great, you just go, okay, well, look, clearly we're not running at a deficit. We've paid off our debt. We're in great economic position. The pensions have been not only fully funded, they're more than fully funded. Our healthcare is the best on earth. A strong military, but we're not invading other countries. Like we're innovating. And if we were doing everything right, correctly, if we're doing everything correctly as a nation, and the big tech, the lying legacy media, the Democrats, if they were doing everything right, I could say, well, I got a whole bunch of awful opinions that don't make any sense. Luckily for us that they are in charge, because the adults in the room are really keeping the train on the tracks, pardon the pun intended. That would be one thing, but it's literally the opposite. We're all just screaming, hey, you're driving us off of a cliff. Could you please change your course? And they're just ignoring us and speeding up. So yeah, it's a lot to get through. So, all right, Blake, let's pivot. We'll pivot here, and we'll bounce into another topic, because once again, they're all kind of loosely related, but we're going to keep it flowing.
All right.
So I am backloading our show today to save one particular story for the end, just in case we're able to get this journalist in. And that's of course talking about East Palestine, Palestine, Berenstain Bears, Ohio. But yeah, this is a really odd story. We're talking about strange creatures right now and weird people doing weird things. I guess is a good moment to bring up this Georgia grand jury. You got a story pulled up? Do you have the actual some video clips of this person? Because can you set us up on the story in general? What is the Georgia grand jury talking about right now? Why is this news? This is just another relentless effort to try to pin the tail on Trump?
Yeah, they're trying to go after him, and for many different reasons, and of course, questioning election integrity in some of these states, Maricopa, but also Georgia has been under fire for many different reasons, and they've got this grand jury trying to get set to, I don't know, get Trump on the trial, and they got this weird lady they brought out as part of the grand jury. She's the foreperson, whatever, but she is totally wacko. And it's very disturbing that this person has perhaps a certain level of power here in things that could happen with Trump. And she's made several weird media appearances. I'm not 100% if I'll be able to play the audio on these, but I can certainly try. Let's see. And I'm going to have to get the screen share up because I'm using it on a different browser. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry for the Inception effect here, Brian, but I got to run with it. Okay.
I swear you don't have to. I think you prefer it, which is fine.
All right. Yeah, I know this is all over the place. Okay, how we go? Poison. This is Trump lawyers weigh in on this crazy Georgia jury forewoman. Trump's lawyers late Wednesday weighed in on the crazy grand jury forewoman went in a media tour. Fulton County judge ordered parts of the grand jury reports in the Trump 2020 election investigation to be released as the prosecutor considers charges against Trump and his allies. Grand jury concluded that one or more witnesses lied under oath and recommended perjury indictments, saying a majority of the grand jury believes that perjury may have been committed by one or more witnesses testifying before it. The forewoman of the jury, Emily Kors, did a series of disastrous media interviews. So here it is. And then Trump blasted the forewoman, saying this is an illegal kangaroo court. Let's see. We've got here. This is a tweet that's been seen. This has been 5 million views from this woman. She's an oddball, to say the least. Saying this is real. This isn't a parody. This is the lead juror from the Trump Georgia grand jury. Let's see if I can get this audio to run. But I'm not optimistic here. But let's try it here. Nope.
I see it. It's moving.
Can you hear it now?
It's pretty quiet.
Me looking at him and personally want to hear from the former
now-
president. I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear at the end. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment, personally.
Yeah, there's something very odd about her, and she was on CNN, and just the way that she looks at the camera, her mannerisms, a lot of people found that disturbing. Can you hear me now, Brian, as I'm talking?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I'm not sure exactly how.
And once again, I can hear you in here, but I can't hear me anymore. We already established that.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been able to since I've launched this new show. I'm trying to figure out how to get the headphones to let me hear what I'm saying so that I can know when I'm a little too loud or a little not as loud. Yeah, that's a strange person. So the grand jury is saying what? They think that people may have lied about what? What people? Trump lied about, like what?
Yeah,
what is who's in charge of this? What is the whole gist of this?
Just for the the trial and trying to contest the election that happened there in Fulton County, Georgia. We saw Stacey Abrams running the show. We've seen, ballots that were allegedly under the table, adjudication, weird things that were happening with some of these swing states.
Allegedly.
Well, allegedly, we did see that on video. We can make assumptions, or they had a broken pipe and they had to, get the people watching the elections had to leave. Like,
how
there
dumb
was some...
do they think we are? How dumb do they
Well, hey,
think
they're
we
getting
are?
away with it right now. So if they did in fact do anything, so I can't say definitively, but they're outraged that, of course, that we're even questioning the audacity, and maybe not all of the evidence was on point, and they've looked at some of these, at some of the ballots, or a selection, but there are some red flags. There are explanations that they should deliver, but they're going after. They don't like having their motives questioned, and they want to run things their own way, and so they were looking forward to just, I don't know, trying to go after the Trump administration, and especially this woman, and she's questionable. And the more that they've dug in, now, Brian, I don't know if you know that she's kind of got some interesting hobbies outside of what she does judicially, but I don't think she really. I don't understand how you get qualified to have that prominent of a position and to sit on a grand jury if you don't, have everything all together. Like, I can kind of trust school, you kind of ability to tell wrong and to make an intelligent, reasoned opinion on people's characters and motives. But not every member of a jury, is necessarily intelligent or high. They kind of screen them through a selection, but that doesn't mean that they're qualified to do what they do. And this lady certainly has a lot of character issues, and it just kind of makes you wonder what side she's on, or how she is. She seems relatively biased from what's making her rounds on the media, and so now they're criticizing her. And Brian, did you see all the stuff that she's into? She's like a Harry Potter fan, but she's into witchcraft. So I'm gonna post some of that too. Let me find this.
I mean, you
so
didn't
here's
know.
from Jack Sobek saying the Pinterest of that Trump grand juror has been found, and it's worse than you thought. And this is the stuff. She's I guess she's deleted a lot of her social media profiles, so people
Go in
can't
the Wayback Machine. Nothing is ever deleted.
Right. So at least they did find her Pinterest, and this is a lot of the Daily Mail, and it's showing some of the pictures. Here she is. I guess that's from Harry Potter. I never really got into it, but Slytherin University. And then here's her Wiccan, whatever, witchcraft stuff. It might be just kind of innocent Harry Potter stuff, and it might be that she's into weird black magic and rituals and casting spells and trying to, affect the presidency. I'm not sure. Going after Trump. I mean, this is just weird, and I don't have a huge issue. I just question whether people on these grand juries should have some kind of screening to see if they're a healthy moral character. I wouldn't want I guess one of the questions I was asking is this somebody, if you were on trial, would you want some intelligent, reasonable people who are neutral, who want to hear your case, or do you want to have this, who don't seem altogether, and they seem to be politically motivated, looking a certain way? So
did you happen to see that documentary on Netflix about the hatchet wielding hitchhiker?
I did not. But what was interesting, just a quick note, is that Trump is always talking of there's a witch hunt after him, and now ironically you have what appears to be a witch on the hunt for Trump. But yeah, tell me about the hitchhiker saying, "Oops, I gotta go back to."
Interesting. Now a witch
Yeah.
on the hunt for Trump. No, it's an interesting watch. I remember that smash story came out where the guy ran his car into somebody and he was in the car with him and he got a hatchet and he smashed him in the head, and the interview went viral, and then he went on Jimmy Kimmel and he was all over the place, and then you could tell he was an odd duck. You could tell, like, he was charming and endearing, but he was an odd duck. I won't spoil how the rest of the movie goes, but it's interesting. I watched it the other day. I recommend it. It was an interesting watch. But what I'm saying is this girl, watching 10 seconds of her, she's an odd duck. She's just an odd duck. Have you served on a? Now I know that grand juries are different. I believe grand juries,
Right.
those are like more permanent, right? Those are like
Yes.
paid positions, like you sign up for a certain term, a couple months or a couple weeks or something, and
I'm not
you sit on
100%,
that
but
term
it
of
is
the
like a
grand jury.
like a job, like a full time. That's your title, is you're like a juror or what have you. You're part of the grand jury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know what kind
Have
of
you had a chance to
qualifications
serve
Yeah.
on a jury, like not grand jury, but on a jury? Have you had that experience yet?
I've only been asked once, and I wasn't even aware of it, so I just kind of got out of it in that regard. Because I was able to
Um,
receive the mail, but I did not. But I would do it in a certain way. I look forward to doing, especially if it's something I feel like is unjust, because that's one of the power of the jury, is if you feel like this person's getting railroaded or
mhm.
whatever. If you don't agree with the law, if you think this is maybe they did something bad, but do they deserve like 5-10 years? No, so you can just say not guilty. But I mean, that's kind of how they overthrew prohibition, is because well, maybe it's the law that you say people can't drink and they got to go do 20 years, but like you just think that that's an unjust. I don't know if it's 20 years, but whatever. But you have a certain power to to agree or disagree with the verdict or what have you. So there is something interesting to it. But no, I have not actually personally served on a jury. You, Brian?
Yeah, I did, and I'll get to that point in a second. MJ Sedona, doggone it, I forget MJ Sedona's real name. She told me Jocelyn. It might be
Yeah.
Jocelyn. Yeah. She's saying a jury of their peers a whole coven against Trump. Was she a part of a coven that was against Trump? Was there enough in the social media feed to determine that? That's interesting, if true.
I mean, it could just be innocent Harry Potter stuff taken too far, or it could literally be weird black magic, and she's putting a spell or a curse on, people, which is, unhealthy. Not
Well, I
mentally
will say
sound.
that I have known people, Wiccans. I have been to Wiccan events and Wiccan retreats. I am not Wiccan. Essentially an earth-based religion, one of the older religions, kind of going back to like England, Scotland, Ireland, kind of that general European area. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely intentions and spells and stuff. I mean, is it black magic per se? Not per se, but I mean, you're one step away from taking it that direction if you choose to. So that's kind of where I'm interested. Did she really have an entire coven against Trump, and is that something that was public? If that was something that was public, then yeah, obviously it's all tainted and you'd have to throw it out. Jocelyn saying that we must keep in mind that the other jurors voted for her to represent them, and she probably was a representation of the usual stacked jury pool. Yeah, that's an interesting point there. Yeah, Wiccans can be good or they can be evil. Yeah, it's just an earth-based religion. It's kind of dorky, but it could, there is magic involved in as far as intentions and spells and whatnot. But I mean, dark stuff, black magic. I mean, you gotta kind of seek that out, because generally, unless the whole crew's into that type of stuff, they don't want that stuff around. That's my limited experience with it. But that being said, I did serve on a jury. I got to do that and I was voted foreman, which was awesome.
So you've been in her position. All right. In a way.
Yeah, but you only have to talk to watch this lady talk for 5-10 seconds to realize she's fairly wacky. She is an odd person. Um, I, yeah, mine was like it was a traffic situation. It was something with a motor vehicle violation, or like a rental car, and then something with, and we just sat there and we listened to everything, and we had the chance to preliminary move everybody into the back. And I, using my experience with my homeowners association, I just kind of wanted everybody else to talk before I did. But I just kind of put it out there like, hey, this is our first chance. Yes or no, we could just do a quick vote, test the waters here. Maybe we have a good idea of what's going on and we could save ourselves some time. If you want to vote to continue this, raise your hand. And if you want to drop this, raise your hand now. And everybody voted to drop it. And so I got us to quickly reach a verdict when we all went back and said, yep, we're all moving past this. Nope, we're not accepting your accusations and claims. You haven't provided anything of value. You're wasting our time. We're going home. That was awesome. And it wasn't just me trying to steer the jury. Everybody was viewing the same stuff the same way, and we could quickly move on with our lives. Stop wasting our time is essentially what it boiled down to. So, I definitely enjoyed that experience. But yeah, this is fairly strange watching this girl. Jocelyn saying Wiccan and witchcraft practitioner equals Trump had a lot of witches claiming to cast spells and hexes against him during his presidency. Says a lot about who his opponents are. That's right. There was that. I do remember those stories. I don't know if this person was particularly. I don't think in order to be in a coven, in order to be a Wiccan, you have to be anti-Trump or anything per se. But she also says, as far as being judged by a jury of his peers, this trash occultist isn't his peer. Maybe Joe Stolens and Hunters, but not President Trump. So yeah, it's a little odd, sir. It's a little odd, Blake. I mean, what do they think? This is all based on the fact that Trump said, "Find me the votes." Are we going right back to this? Where Trump is
I'm sure
on the
it's
phone
all
just
going to
saying,
tie
like,
together. Yeah. Just basically in a whole general, hey, I'm questioning what happened in Georgia. So
that's his duty to run a fair election.
Yeah. And so now they're running this thing, and they got this. They found a wacko to try to push their own narrative. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere. And
yeah, what goes next? What happens next now?
Oh, I don't know. They might be thrown out because she's. You're not supposed to go public with all this stuff. So it's kind of discredited. It's tainted the pool.
Why did she go public? Why did CNN allow her on?
Maybe there's a motive behind the scenes. I really don't know.
That's the weird part. Why would they put this on?
They
knowing
have
that
a bloodlust of going after Trump and destroying him and getting him up on the stage and getting him to panic and go, yes, I'm guilty. I'm sorry. No, they want to break him and they want to dominate, America and the MAGA movement. So they're trying in their own little desperate lashing out, and that's just their latest, presentation of it. So there it was.
Awesome.
Well, like, hey, this is strange, right?
Yeah. Well, let's keep our eyes on Georgia. Watch those guide stones. Watch the water. Do all those fun things.
Guide stones are gone, baby. Yeah.
I know. How will we ever know how to rebuild society again?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll never know. All right. Let's bounce to the next topic, shall we?
Sure.
All right, now we're getting into the heavy-hitting news here, Blake. Another potential Clinton side situation here. We've definitely backloaded the key stories toward the second part of the show because this is just absurd in my perspective. Can you refresh us on who this guy was, when the thing happened, what we know? Like, can you just kind of hit reset on this story with this former Clinton aide and who he was connected to? On top of just Clinton? I heard the E word being referenced.
Yes, it's definitely Epstein. So let's see if I can find it. Again, I got to switch screens here. Let's go right here. It's now also out of the Daily Mail. Arkansas cops ruled a suicide in the death of a Clinton aide linked to Jeffrey Epstein. Found shot and tied to a tree with an electrical cord around his neck, despite no sign of a weapon. It's a special advisor, Mark Middleton, who worked on Clinton's staff in the 90s in the White House and actually signed Jeffrey Epstein in to several times, and apparently killed himself in Arkansas, or as they say, the Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yep. Grisly scene, sheriff report, mysterious death, raising more questions than answers as they're trying to say, oh, that's a suicide, despite no evidence of such. 59 years old, and there he is. And he was a businessman. I don't know if it's going to HVAC business. There's his ranch. They didn't show any pictures, thankfully. No one wants to see that. There he is with his family. Does this look like a man who would just commit suicide all of a sudden? Maybe. You never know what's going on in somebody's head. However, if you're tied to a tree, somebody must have tied you there. And if you don't have a weapon, how would you have committed suicide? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it feels like we're just kind of getting trolled, I guess. So
it's more absurd. Yeah, we're just getting trolled. Like this is insanity. This is another story out of 1984 where they tell you, we want you to say 2 + 2 = 5. And it's not so much that you say it, you must believe it. Why is anybody still protecting the Clintons? Why?
They're still very powerful, that whole apparatus.
Are they?
They basically got the ball rolling on all this kind of deep state stuff and the media. So they're darlings, and they won't. They're still entwined with the DNC. They're powerful people and fundraisers. They're essential characters to the Democratic Party machine, and they continue to cover for them, no matter how cartoonish it gets, no matter how much the Clinton body count. And we've seen this, the Vince Foster and all of the other people that have mysteriously died or committed suicide. And here's the latest one, and it's maybe the most obvious one that there's something wrong here. It's obviously wasn't a suicide, but they're either going to ignore the story or they're going to continue to cover for it. Like there's nothing to see, and the Clintons are such great people. Give money to the foundation and elect Hillary, and it's disturbing. And it's just mindless cult followers. So at what point are they going to say, yeah, you know what? This can't be a coincidence. There can't be this many suicides. And this last one, and it's tied to Epstein. I mean, how obvious does it get that it's a loose end? That maybe he was talking. Maybe they had to get rid of him. I don't know. But if he's connected to the Clintons and the Epsteins and he dies in a mysterious suicide, it's probably not a suicide. So if this is agree or disagree, I don't exactly know how we're phrasing it, but I'm saying it's highly suspicious.
Do you agree or disagree that the former Clinton aide committed suicide?
I'm going to disagree. I think they're full of shit, and now they're just throwing it in our face and trolling us with it.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that as well. It's completely obvious. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me why I'm a Oh, that's another thing that when I hear people talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, okay, those are all buzzwords. I know where this is headed. When I hear insurrection, that's another one. Oh, what was the word I was just going to say? Conspiracy theorist. That's the other one. When I hear the phrase conspiracy theorist, I tune out whatever's coming next. I float away and I go, oh, that person's just that's an NPC. They're about to spout some drivel. Yeah, I mean, is this you and I, Blake? We're clearly crazy conspiracy theorists, probably homophobic and probably transphobic and probably fascist and probably Nazis because we don't think that a guy who's tied up to a tree can kill himself with no weapon. Like, that's how absurd this is
Yep.
begun. Like that's how absurd this is escalated. Like, the escalation of this now, this is anybody out there laughing at people who are looking at this saying that doesn't add up in any way? Like, 2 + 2 will never equal 5, no matter how many times you want us to say it. But there will be the usual cast of characters who are either bribed or paid off, coerced, threatened, or blackmailed that will call people like you and I crazy to dispute the findings. You know, in a normal society, the feds would come in and go, hang on, step aside. You're done. No. We're running our own investigation here. This is a hate crime. You know, you hate truth, so that's a hate crime. Everything is a hate crime. If you hate somebody enough to harm them, all these words. Another Epstein connection. So we were supposed to get those lists, right? The Ghislaine Maxwell Epstein lists. I've seen some things floating around.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a definitive date. No. They just keep saying soon, so I don't know what that means. There's no hard date yet, as far as I know.
Nothing yet.
Perfectly accurate list, as far as I know, yet either. So we're waiting, just like we're waiting for the Fauci files.
Yeah, what the hell's taking that so long?
Don't know. We'll have to find out once Matt Taibbi and Elon release them. So who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Kind of pressure and what have you. And a lot of legal, probably a lot of lawyers battling and a lot of threats happening. It's not going to be easy, but the public has a right to know. But we'll see that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So if this investigation is happening and the Arkansas police are coming up with this theory that it was a suicide, then yeah, you would think that the good guys, like the FBI, would be like, hey, on the federal level, like, they're not going to put up with that. They're going to say, let's go in there and let's do our own investigation, because that sounds like BS, like, as a checks and balance against that. And maybe they come up with the same theory, but now it's just the FBI has been so corrupted in large part because of the Clintons. Not that it's always had its issues, but especially with the deep state, especially with Clinton, Bush, Obama, it got really bad, and it's just, you can't count on it. And they're just basically protecting the bad guys at this point, and so they don't want anything to do with the Epstein and the list. They're protecting all those high-level people who are been getting away with some pretty nasty crimes for a long time, allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, it's never been more obvious that the FBI has turned on American citizens. Like, it's turned on reality. Like, it's an out of control fiction machine, right? Like, tell me, when is the last time the FBI has done something accurate and factual and helpful to America? Like, how far back do we have to go to find some? We think, the feds will come in and they're so helpful. Like, maybe I'm just having recency bias. I can't think of anything where I've been, thankfully they came in and fixed something that went wrong. Like in Quantum Leap, we're sending in the FBI to fix what once went wrong. When's the last time that happened? They're sending the FBI, I think it was the FBI, wasn't it, to search for hate crimes with Bubba Wallace, and they're sending the FBI to search for hate crimes with Jussie Smollett. It's like they're constantly trying to push an anti-white, anti-fact agenda to just lie. Like, they're just dying to find these stories to get like the Obama Biden puppet masters some sort of ammunition to bludgeon the American people with. When is the last time the FBI's done something factual or truthful or helpful?
The 80s? I don't know. They probably busted too many high-level people, and then they're like, no, we got to infiltrate and put our people in there and protect their own. So they can't have them going after the big people on Washington or what have you. So they get their own people in there who don't persecute them. So and then it's just gotten worse as the years have gone by. And they're actually like manufacturing crimes, so they're not investigating things. whether it's the Trade Center or Oklahoma City, was the Olympic bombing when they're trying to set him up, or they're with the Gretchen Whitmer case, or whether they've got infiltrators at January 6th. I mean,
were they involved with the FISA warrants when they took the phony Russian dossier provided by Fusion GPS and the Clinton campaign?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Comey
so
and all that.
They could spy on President Trump?
Yeah.
Candidate
Trump? Largely knew it was BS, but they went with it.
Not largely, completely. No. Yeah. We're not giving them a single lick of doubt here. Not a single iota of doubt. We know exactly that they didn't buy a single. No.
Right, at the very top, they're totally corrupt, and maybe there's probably some good people in there.
So what now? How do we navigate a country where? How do we navigate this?
Trump got elected, and now the deep state is come back. World Economic Forum, New World Order, what have you. I'm not saying they meddled with the election, but there's certainly issues.
Why wouldn't you say that?
Because of YouTube.
What about YouTube? They're liars. Have you seen when the news? This story itself.
I don't want to take this whole video down just because I had to go there.
I know.
Then we just leave it on Rumble. So I'm just trying to I don't need to die on that hill every day. But hey, we should be able to question things. But
this story, if you search it on Google, hang on. Let me
story, then I can't stream on a channel for another month. So I don't want to get a second strike again. That's the reason. I'm not trying to, I'm afraid to talk about it. No, I'm not. But I know what'll happen, as has happened many times already. I've got multiple YouTube channels, and I've had strikes, and it's a pain in the ass. And I can talk about any other number of things, and I can still tiptoe around the issue without having to go there. And then, I got a strike, and there's nothing I can do to appeal. And
this was sent to me earlier today.
Yep.
From a friend, and he said, Google is hiding stories again. So he typed in Bill Clinton aide, and this is what they do. These are the people we're walking on eggshells around. I get it. You don't need to die on the hill, whatever. But let's just call it out for what it is.
Yeah.
It looks like the results are changing quickly. It's a topic sometimes can take time for reliable sources to publish information. You should check the source and come back later. The death of Clinton aide tied to Jeffrey Epstein ruled a suicide. This is who Google YouTube is. They are the biggest liars. The biggest.
Yeah.
And there was massive, rampant collusion between big tech, the Democrat Party, and the lying legacy media to oust the duly elected president of the United States. Collusion, complete collusion. They've written articles about it. They're bragging about it. There's nothing inaccurate about that. Not a single smidge that's inaccurate. Google is possibly the worst, and that's saying something. Facebook might be the worst, but they're all the worst. Until Elon bought Twitter, Twitter was just total trash. At least there's hope on Twitter now. I'm enjoying some of my time on Twitter now that permission to speak freely has been granted again. But this is what they do. They lie about stories. They hide the stories. I can't stand it. Anyway.
Yeah. I know. This is where we're at. That's why we have to do these shows. I don't want to do any of this stuff. If the news media told the truth, I could be living happily ever after somewhere, and I would never be a public figure, quietly living my best life in my own little introverted world. But now I've been, forcing myself to go into journalism and call this stuff out because I'm concerned about my country and the future of the planet. And I know where these people are taking us, and they are rewriting reality, and they're trying to control things, and they're involved in a lot of terrible things, and they should probably be quarantined from the rest of us before they do more damage. But it's hard to get the word out, and they're openly censoring us. They're preventing me from going full go on 2020, and they're covering up this Clinton thing. They don't want to, they're trying to, they don't want their people to even see this stuff. But if they do see it, they're just going to dismiss it as crazy conspiracy theory. it's right-wing talking points or whatever. So, but we see it a different way. So we're seeing the facts laid out, and we're putting the puzzle together in a different way and saying, it's probably more like this, but they can't trust the journalists, so we got to do it ourselves. So
awesome. All right, let's bounce to the next story, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are good stingers, but maybe if we could add a couple of seconds to them, maybe add like 2 or 3 seconds.
I could probably run them through the editor and stretch them out, change the music. I don't know. If we want to. All right.
I think we would.
Interesting point.
Because they're good. All these are good. These are great.
Yeah.
They're great. Okay, so here's something. Vladimir Putin. He discussed. He held a, what do you call it? Kind of like a State of the Union. I don't know what they called it.
It's like on the 1-year anniversary of their invasion of Ukraine, if you want to say, and just kind of giving an update and what their motives are, and the reasoning, so people understand why this conflict is happening. So he's kind of laying those points out, and I can respect that.
I mean, it's a year since the Ukraine-Russian thing happened, but it's been since 2014 since the United States overthrew Ukraine to put the puppet government in there, right?
Right. Yeah, their own person or somebody who was more sympathetic with NATO in the West and the U.S. Yeah, they have their own agenda, and they've been kind of poking around with the Russian bear for a long time.
Well, tell us, do you have that story queued up to walk us through what we know about?
Part of it. He ran a big speech. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, so obviously I can't get into too much of it. But, it created a stir online with a lot of people who, especially with Republicans, who were saying, I kind of agree with Vlad. It's not that I'm pro-Russia. It's not that I'm pro-Putin, but he makes some points. And I'll pull up a story. There's a couple of them, but again, it's kind of being reliant on the highlights that are there. Let's see if I can find it. So there's one out of the Kiev Post, which is Ukraine's global voice, which is very, very, very biased, as though Putin's the bad guy, and that's it's subjective, and people are allowed to make their mind. It's not like he's no angel, he's no saint, but he's a principled man who's protecting his country and his interests, and he doesn't like what's happening. His security is threatened on the West. So a lot of people are trying to say, oh, he's going to go into Ukraine, then he's going to go into Poland, he's going to dominate Europe. No, it's BS. But he doesn't like this puppet government, doesn't like the Zelensky. He doesn't like the Azov Nazis and the way that they are treating the eastern parts of Ukraine, which are more leaning towards Russia, the Donbass and Crimea. And they'd rather be with Russia than Ukraine. And so I'll just go into some of the highlights because I won't have time to get into all of this, the back and forth. But what he's saying, so President Putin updated Russia's elite on Tuesday in the Ukraine. The highlights, it says it's a difficult time. I am making this address at a time which we know is difficult. It's a watershed moment for the country. We have a colossal responsibility. He says we've been a hostage of the West. Said many times the people of Ukraine have become hostage of the Kyiv regime and its Western overlords who have effectively occupied the country, political, military, economically, does not serve the national interests, but those of third countries. It's an existential threat to Russia. The elites of the West do not hide their purpose. They intend to transform a local conflict to a phase of global confrontation. There's aggressive information attacks against us, the culture wars, distorting historical facts, attacking their culture, look what the West does to its own peoples with the destruction of the family, cultural national identity, perversion, abuse of children, same-sex marriages, the spiritual catastrophe, with the way that they're running the sanctions on the Russian people. Elections, armed control. It goes on and on. But, a lot of people are saying, hey, I can kind of agree with Vlad. Again, it doesn't make you pro-Russia or like you want to dominate Ukraine and make it Russian, but it just says he's got a point. And the West has kind of lost its moral compass, but yet they want to run everything. And he sees that as a threat, and he wants to protect his people and his country. And I respect that. So, but I mean, you get the usual stuff, the Mark Levin, the Glenn Beck. So let me pull up one more thing I thought was...
Mark Levin.
We won't have Mark Levin. Angry Mark.
I've always loved when you do your Mark Levin voice.
Yeah. And sometimes I like the guy. It's on, not one of those times when he's constantly seems like he's always the position of warmonger, which I don't like. But you're also seeing Glenn Beck who's saying Vladimir Putin is a false prophet and a liar. He is fighting evil with evil, and his traditionalism is not a return to family values. Do not fall for this deception. And you got another outspoken influencer, Jackson Hinkle, who has been very pro-Russia, wanting to have a conversation that Putin is fighting evil and doing more to protect family values than anybody in the GOP. So I can kind of agree. And there's a lot of people that are critical of Beck. Even, Beck's own people are kind of criticizing him too. So, but it's interesting. That's where I'm saying I'm criticizing people on the right who are, constantly anti-Putin too. So I don't always agree with their views. Oops, let me start screen there. But so what do you think? You agree with Putin? Or do you think he makes a point?
I mean, look, man. How much are we supposed to care what's going on in Ukraine and Russia? Why is this something we're supposed to
threatens the entire planet if we get into a thermonuclear war, or if we get into
it does if we escalate it, right?
Yeah. We're fighting a proxy war. There's no that we sabotaged the Nord Stream pipelines.
They were bragging about it. Are they still claiming they didn't do it? Because the administration was bragging about it and threatening it. Have they admitted it full force yet?
No, of course not.
But they were bragging about it and they wanted everybody to know. So why aren't they admitting it?
Because they bragged about it, but once they actually did it, and then they tried to blame it on Russia and couldn't get away with.
Why would Russia do that to their own pipeline? Once again, these people push
because they think you're stupid. That's why. Because they think everyone's stupid and they're going to believe their propaganda.
Oh my God. They push the dumbest shit. They are, for being professional liars, they are the worst liars I have ever seen. The United States has invaded the Falkland Islands, so the U.S. blew up their own energy pipelines in protest. Like, what the? It doesn't even. Did a third grader write this? The United States, they did, right? I mean, Seymour Hersh isn't.
He's been around for decades. Stuff. He's a real, legit, old school investigative journalist. He's the real deal. And they called it.
If what he said is true, that the United States, that Biden, and Lord help us, this country's been seized by. Ask a majority of the people if they would love to remove this Biden guy from any position of power in his entire administration. I'm pretty certain you're going to have a massive, whopping, resounding, please get him the hell away. Our country's been overthrown. I think 2 years of going the exact wrong direction. I can't imagine anybody still supporting this guy. That being said, if we blew up that pipeline, the United States has become ecological terrorists. You know what happened when we blew that up and knocked all of that fuel out into that water supply?
Yeah, that's part of it. And then it's also screwing over all of Europe as getting their cheap energy from Russia. So they're heating it. I can only imagine what their heating bills have been. They're shutting down businesses everywhere. They can't afford to stay open. Because we sabotaged the lines? Yeah.
And to
but
what
we're
end?
selling their strategic oil reserves.
What's the gain here? Because Russia is what the Democrats, the lying Democrats, the lying legacy media, censoring the censors over at Google, the liars at Google, the people at Facebook who are lying, the people at Twitter who are lying. They've been pushing fake Russian collusion stories since 2015. They overthrew Ukraine in 2014. The election was in 2016. The liars have had a hard-on to blame Russia and destroy Russia for 9 years now, at least 10 years or more. What is the fucking benefit, Blake? I'm trying, where does lying
Russia's
to
the threat.
The world about everything, ecological terrorism, and threatening, dancing, fiddling around. Here, I'm going to throw you the red button. I'm going to throw you the red button. I hope you don't press the red button. It might touch my elbow. I don't know. With nuclear war, how does this benefit anybody? What am I missing? What do these deep state operatives know that is so much more knowledgeable than us? It's insanity what we're seeing, and all they're doing is lying to us. What am I missing on the geopolitical stage? I'm watching Jack Ryan on Netflix. I understand the subterfuge of all the double cross, the triple cross, and all the global political ramifications. But why Russia? What is the hard on to take these guys out? They haven't been messing with anyone since Gorbachev, until NATO got right up on their face. I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. I'm not punching you. I'm not punching you. I'm not punching you. You're like, bro, you're in my space. Can you back the hell off? Yeah. And so they punched him. Wow, I'm so surprised after being instigated for 9 years that they finally said, get off of our property line.
Well, it's exactly as Jocelyn has put out. Yeah, this is a world domination thing, and Putin is a threat. Russia's powerful. Russia's not part of the World Economic Forum. They're not part of the New World Order. They're not on with their woke agenda. Well, we are. Yes, absolutely, we are.
You and me,
and we're being censored and being forced. Not me and you, but they would have us. shut
neither
down.
Are we? You and I.
Well, we're demonetized. We're censored. We can't talk about certain things. Well, yeah, absolutely. That's the way they're persecuting.
They're fighting
MAGA.
us too. We're the good guys, and they're fighting us. They're
don't
lying
want
about
us.
The facts of the other situation.
They want control and domination, and So Putin and Trump are a threat to them. And they got to get rid of that. And they got to get rid of Americana and gun culture and the strong men. And then they can just do whatever they want. Then it becomes the 1984 Brave New World Hunger Games. That's their ultimate goal and dream, is to just rule over, micromanage, new feudalism, and never have be threatened again by the people. They don't want the Constitution. They don't want checks and balances. They want money, power, and control forever. So Putin's a threat to that. If they can take him down and to get rid of Trump, then what's going to stop them?
Us.
No, not without Trump, without the leader. Look at all the people that are sitting in jail for J6. Look what they've done to us. Censor us. Twitter without the exposure of that. What was it? It was just we're crazy conspiracy theorists. They're shutting us down. They're trying to control reality.
America has been overthrown by power-hungry warmongers.
Yeah.
Please help.
Yeah. Well, without the United States, there isn't anything. And without Russia as well, which is a strong country who's principled and isn't interested in our woke bullshit. They don't want to join the West. So they've got their tradition, whether they like it or not, or whether it's fake or not, or what have you. They're not going to succumb to that. They're not going to get their marching orders from Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates. So,
okay. Good times. Good times.
Right.
We'll see how
So
this.
I don't have to like Putin, but I can respect Putin and what he's trying to do. So he is fighting evil. And the West is money laundering Ukraine, meddling around, threatening their security, biolabs, all number of different things. And with all their woke BS.
Yeah, all that woke BS. It's a bludgeon to try to scare people into saying what's real.
Right.
I mean, if they can get you to call men women and women men, and like you're just, what won't you say if you're just, if you can take reality and force people to be quiet about just the blatant, I just, it's all blatant lies, man. You know, if
I know
Russia
that, you know
was,
that, but the people don't. And now they're covering it up. You can't even find the truth. You can go Google it, but what are you going to find?
you're going to find that statement that says,
right.
This is a topic that seems to be changing. We're going to do additional research before you show you a damn thing about anything, because we don't want you to know, and maybe the feeling will pass. There'll be another distraction by tomorrow, so you won't remember to research it.
Well, are you qualified to research, Brian?
Yeah.
What makes you
Right.
qualified?
Exactly. Back to Sam Harris. Jocelyn here is saying infiltration and sub.
Here. Yep.
What's that?
So, I got about 3 minutes. So we got a lightning round. We got to head out soon.
She was Jocelyn saying infiltration and subversion by China has a lot to do with it. Through elite capture, Xi owns our government. There's very little resistance to that. Leftists are brainwashed and delighted with that arrangement. Okay, final story. This is the main story I wanted to get to. I was hoping we could get our guest in. So the Biden administration represents America better than President Trump ever did, as witnessed in East Palestine, Ohio. Blake, agree or disagree?
Disagree. Gosh, I mean, this is an easy one, but it has to be said. It has to be pointed out, and it should be like an obvious thing. They dropped the ball on this. They would have ignored Ohio as long as they could until Trump showed up, made them look bad. And then, all of a sudden, Mayor Pete finally shows up today. Biden has never mentioned the word Ohio, Palestine, Ohio. He immediately went over to Ukraine when Ohio needed help. And that's when Biden should have been there as the leader. Oh, my God, sorry, bring you all kinds of aid. Give them $500 million. No, he gave it to Ukraine. They staged a big photo op with air sirens and everything. So it's just a joke. It's America last. They're throwing it in our face. And, that's why Trump is showing himself to be the true leader. Mayor Pete just continues to embarrass himself. And which is, entertaining for us, too. So, but not a good look for them. Whether that's going to have an effect, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to play this one little clip. This is from Nick. I was hoping to ask him about this today, but the stars did not align. Let me pull this up real quick, and then we'll let you go, Blake. Here is a screen share. I'm not going to be able to hear it, but let's see what we can do. Okay, can you see it? I think you can see it. Okay, here we go.
He's been Secretary of Transportation for 2 years now. How long can you blame the Trump administration for all your failures?
Let me say this. I will take responsibility for how I do my job. It is time for the Trump administration alumni to take responsibility for their deregulation and join us in calling for us all as a country to reverse course.
Okay, well, why don't you just reverse course, Brett? I'm not. I'm just a Twitter guy.
So the people on the ground, they know what's going on. Buys everybody McDonald's and sends them water and lifts everybody's spirits. And, the Biden, former Vice President Biden, he's over there in Ukraine just pledging we're going to fund your pension benefits or something like.
Yep.
Bro, final word, Blake. Sum this all up for us here.
It's embarrassing. This is the problem. Elections have consequences, and now you're seeing it. The America First policy to the America Last policy that we're seeing with the Biden administration. They're transforming things, and they have no excuse not to have visited Ohio, not to have given them aid, and to just act like it's not happening. Meanwhile, they're continuing to fund a proxy war that most people aren't interested in. And it's just continued black hole, blank check. It's unclear whether that's really helping anybody important. And certainly we should help our people here at home first, no matter what. And then once we're taking care of our own country, our own border, our own people that are having issues with disasters, then we can try to help the rest of the world. And that's the way Trump set it out. And he left he had to go. And now we have the other administration, the clown show. And it's sad. And I wish people would wake up, realize that this isn't right, and try to fix it. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. We've got another year and a half till the next election, and hopefully people, scrutinize this, make better decisions, and understand the bigger picture here and where we want to go as a country. Well, they don't have to like Trump, but you can't like the Biden and Pete Buttigieg, and this gang of people are certainly not competent. So what else are they going to do? If you don't like Trump, you don't like DeSantis, what are you going to bring us that's going to make America prosperous again? So we don't have to have these continued embarrassments. Why would you even want to go out as a media person and defend this every day? It would be something we're proud of, or we're working together, or we come together on certain things that we can agree on as Americans. Sad that we're here.
It is. Dear Heavenly Father, Gaia, Mother Earth, Grand Architect of the Universe, Divine Spirit, the Cosmos, whatever you choose to define that term as, please deliver us from the evil, the incompetence, the tomfoolery of this Biden administration, and help get America back on track. Amen. A little bit of a non-denominational plea to the universe, because we really need to be flying our flags upside down as a sign of national distress. Like we have been taken over by nincompoops and liars with big tech collusion, and we need help. We're begging for help because these people do not represent us, and we don't want a nuclear war with Russia. We don't want a third world war, and we need to get back on track as soon as possible while there's still time, because this is not an infinite timeline where we can correct this stuff. Because if those missiles start flying, man, it ends real fast. The sun gets blotted out real fast. The water becomes undrinkable. The air becomes unbreathable real fast. So please deliver us from evil. Amen. Blake, I appreciate you joining me on the show today. We want everybody to follow Blake on Twitter. He's at TV's Blake Wally. Any other final words or places you want them to follow you, sir?
I still got to work on the website, getting there, but I just want to thank Space Ace and Frankie and Jocelyn. Great comments. Also forgot to mention Space Ace, who also goes by the name David Lopan. We forgot to mention is the bad guy, David Lopan. I don't know if you remember this from the movie Big Trouble in Little China, which was the Kurt Russell movie. So he was the main character battling David Lopan. So interesting how that tied together. Forgot to mention it. I don't know if you're still out there, David, but thank you. Good times. And we'll
he was in that movie? That all connected?
If you look at David Lopan, I believe it's that, whatever the bad guy is in that movie with the weird eyes, classic 80s, but one of the big Kurt Russell movies anyway.
Wow. So. Synchronicities, man. I'll take it. Synchronicities usually mean that you're on the right path. They're like little mile markers to let you pause and go, okay, interesting. So, all right. Yes. Thank you to everybody who's been watching. Everybody
watching. And thanks for continuing to put this out. Looking forward to this probably next Tuesday or whenever we do the next show. But good times. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian. Good job. We'll get Stephanie back and we're all good. All right. Take care. All right.
Peace out.